Greetings, everyone. This is the Hipster Snek, and today I am trying out Evaluation. This is an indie horror game I found on itch that follows the quiz game format in story. It had to do with the training of priests using this old software. So we're just going to kind of dive in and see what happens. Use this program is done at your own spiritual risk. You know, that's kind of true of all games, isn't it? Welcome to the evaluation. Shortly you will be asked a number of questions. The topics covered are not important right now, and it is important that you keep your mind clear. Unnecessary capitalization. Please take as much time as possible and answer each question truthfully. Click below to begin. I'm going to click on the cross. Nothing? Okay. Alright, just wanted to check. Self. Okay. I think the backstory said, like, the software, like, stopped being used. Some questions about you. Honestly describe yourself using one of the selections. Honest or dishonest? That's an interesting thing. Like, here's the thing about describing how honest you are. Is like, are you being honest about how honest you are? Or are you being dishonest about how honest you are? It's an interesting little conundrum, isn't it? On the one hand, I'm too stupid to be particularly deceptive, so whether I like it or not, I think I kind of lean honest. In fact, I probably lean towards blunt, if we're being honest. Think carefully now. How often do you think the people you care about most think about you? Always and never! Shouldn't it be somewhere in the middle? Like this is really, really extreme. Gosh, like, I don't... I feel immodest answering this on a regardless basis. I think I'd be somewhere in the middle. I think, if especially if we had, like, recently had a conversation or something, maybe. But, like, not always. Like, on the sliding scale, I think it'd be closer to never. Like, proportionately. Interesting. Do you ever feel like the world would be a much better place if it just revolved around you? Absolutely no. 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 I am not main character material. No. Absolutely not. Answer truthfully. Do you think it is easy to control people without them even realizing it? That's an interesting question. I think there's a certain amount of truth to that. Social media does prove that people will... confirmation bias is a powerful thing. So the first bit of information they learn about a particular topic is typically what shapes their entire understanding of it. And later information introduced down the line, typically that conflicts with it, will not be seriously evaluated unless they are left with basically no conceivable choice. I think there are some shortcuts the human brain uses that I think does, on the whole, make people relatively easy to manipulate. And I don't mean in huge ways. I don't mean like indoctrinating them into some dangerous cult or something. I mean like little subtle manipulations. Like it's easier than people think because the human brain kind of uses the same shortcuts across the board. So like it sounds kind of evil, but like I think on the whole it's easier than it is hard. Final question. How often do you feel like someone is watching you even when you're alone? Well, I mean, if we're talking about this in the theological sense, I'm never alone, since I always walk in the light of the Lord. But that being said, it's actually kind of funny. I'll tell you guys a fun story. I have these particular type of shutter blinds in my home, and they suck, and they fall apart with, like, the slightest touch, and they're not particularly in good shape. There's actually a couple slats that have fallen out. So there is kind of like this really awkward open window into the world outside. And it does sort of make me think about that sometimes. Like, I don't really think people make it a point to like spy on people, but like, passing glance, I think that's not uncommon. But on the whole, not really. That doesn't really cross my mind very much. Spirit. Okay. So we're getting a little deeper, I think. Some questions about your faith. This should be interesting. Do you believe in God? Yes. As a matter of fact, I've talked about that quite extensively, especially in these quiz games. That seems to come up a lot in the quiz games. Absolutely. I am the way, the truth, and the life. How important is faith to you? Very, actually. I've talked about this. I actually was at one point in my life strongly considering joining the ministry. It's actually something I talk about in the Snek Sermons playlist. So if you guys want to know more about that, consider checking that out. Or there are two quiz games. I can't remember the names off the cuff. I'll put some text on the screen if future me remembers to do so, naming which ones they are. And I talk about that at pretty good length. Consider the life of Jesus Christ, the pain and struggle of his mortality. Do you think Jesus hated his only mother? What? No. Not. There is literally no reason to even think that for an instant. Also, the wording on this is really suspect to begin with. And I know this is from the perspective of a Catholic priest in training, and the way the different sects view Mary does vary a little bit, but no. Literally, no one has any reason to think that at all. Question for you. If the devil, nice, offered to save your mother from death in exchange for your soul, would you accept? See, this is interesting because my answer is no, but I want to explain why before I answer, because on its face that sounds really bad. Like, people are gonna be jumping in the comments like, Snek, how dare you? Like, oh, you wouldn't save your own mother. What's wrong with you? Like, hear me out. Here's the thing. I come from a family of faithful. Religion will be a continuing focal point in my family. It always has been. My parents are saved. They are devout as well. So, to save her from death by means of evil is really doing a disservice both to her and to myself. And those of you who have watched, Nick Cage and Ghost Rider know how very easily this sort of thing can backfire on you on a regardless basis. So, the Apostle Paul is to die is gain. Was it to die is to live is to gain? So, like, no, because this is a terrible thing that would do no one any good, and I would be basically delaying the inevitable, which the devil would definitely backstab me. He's the father of all lies. And in return, I damn myself. It was like, lose-lose proposition here, people. No. Same question again. What about your father? Same thing. Like, the exact same rules still apply. Everything I just said still applies. I'm not making deals. I'm not making Faustian bargains. Final question. Was the gift of reason a mistake? Comma splice. The comma splice was a mistake. Now, this is an interesting question because it hinges a bit on a bit of a logical fallacy. The general thrust of it here being that they're arguing that, like Eve biting the fruit. It's not an apple, it was a fruit. They use apple as a representative metaphor. Now, here's the thing. That's a metaphor. The whole story is a metaphor. You think it's really interesting how Genesis starts off very floaty and ethereal and doesn't have any actual concrete answers to anything up until, like, several chapters in, where suddenly we go from a creation myth to suddenly this very specific story about these very specific people in very specific locations with great documentation as to who they were, what they did, and where they lived. Genesis is one part myth and one part history book. So the way I see it is to be made in the image of God is not necessarily that we have a head, 2 hands, 2 feet. Well, you have 2 hands and 2 feet. I don't have those. It's not the way we're shaped. It's the way we think. Our ability to determine for ourselves what it is we're going to do. Our free will is what is to be made in the image of God, or at least in my assessment. So in this instance, the answer is no. And to use the Garden of Eden parable as reason to believe that we shouldn't have it is fallacious and makes the grave mistake of assuming that we would be, in any other capacity, anything but mindless automatons. Pre-programmed robots to operate on a script with no particular ability to make decisions or try to improve our situation. You could argue that the clash between people's reason and rationale has caused a great deal of strife in the world, but that same motivation is ultimately what propelled us to greatness as a species. So, no. Angels and demons. All right, we're getting into the thick of it now. Your answers are currently being evaluated. For this next task, you will be shown a number of images. You must determine and judge if they are an angel or a demon. There's no way to do that! We know for a fact that Satan can disguise himself as an angel of light. This is going to be a crapshoot no matter what I do. Look carefully. That's a statue. It's a statue representing an angel. So I think it's fair to say that it's a representative depiction of a concept of an angel, or at least one type of angel. Not getting into the heavenly host here, of all places. I think it's fair to say that, if it's a representation, then you kind of know what it is you're getting into. Well, that's from, I know the work this is part of. That's, again, a representation of an angel. Don't trust everything you see. That's a rather famous demon, actually. That shows up in several Castlevania games as a recurring enemy, though I can't remember its name off the cuff. That's definitely a demonic depiction. Poor thing. What, is it a dead bird? You guys love your grainy filters, don't you? It looks like a dead bird being eaten by ants, but that could just be me being blind. Like, it could be flies. If it's flies, it could be representative of Beelzebub. If it's just a dead bird, like, it's kind of hard to say. I don't know what to take away from this. I'm gonna guess demon just to be spiteful. I don't really have a good answer for you. Do you think it's cruel? It's a centipede. It's a centipede, but I don't see... Is there supposed to be something else? I don't really understand this part. You kind of lost the lead a little bit here. Angel? It never stood a chance. It's an X-ray of something. It could be a small chimp, or it could be like an infant human, maybe, but like... It doesn't look like there's any bones in the hands. Like, this doesn't really make any sense to me. I kind of feel like staring at the screen is inviting a jump scare, right? I don't know what to take away from it never stood a chance. Like, we've lost the lead a little bit. Angel, why not? Humans don't become angels, to be clear. That's a completely different thing. Contact. Next, we begin the most important and notably dangerous section. We will now attempt to commune with the dead. That's not something the church would ever do. Who or what you may encounter depends on your previous answers. Please exercise caution. So in the story of the game, and I read this on the itch page, like this was like a software that was used to train priests and was eventually stopped being used for a number of reasons. No actual Christian body would attempt to commune with the dead. That's literally inviting in the worst kinds of guests. And you don't want to do that. You don't. But we're playing a video game built in Unity, I believe, so the worst demon I can run into is my software not being able to load the thing properly. Not under any circumstances, close or shut down your device while the program is in process. I'm about to be jump scared. I'm feeling a jump scare coming. Regulate your breathing and remain mindful. It also said something about epilepsy warnings, so I'm just dropping that there now. You have been warned. You may hear noises in your environment. This is normal. Great. Wonderful. Again, program launched successfully. Seems like a terrible idea, tracking eye movement. Initiate. Initiate what? Okay. Whoa, okay. S-A-M. Samael, which, interesting. You have summoned Samael. Wonderful. We now notice some changes in the atmosphere of your environment. Spirit has already manifested itself at this point. We'll now attempt to visualize it for full contact. It's wonderful. See, in real life, I cannot tell you enough why you should never do stuff like this, let alone create software that facilitates it. Not that I think there's an actual program that could. But remember, evil gets into your home by being invited in. So, that being the case, again, this is a indie game made in Unity. So, like, you know, take it with a grain of salt, certainly. But in real life, I'm telling you, be careful. Rituals are rarely a good proposition and almost always a lose-lose kind of conundrum. So you should always be careful, and if you feel uncomfortable, you are welcome to click away. I wouldn't necessarily fault you, but I am a skeptical old fart of a Snek, and I'm going to proceed as is. As he probably just did a Google search for a bunch of angel names and found what he could. Oh my, yes. Oh, of course. Looks like the claymation Satan from Mark Twain's Adventures. Spirit image rendered. Processing communication tool. Hello, child. You know my name and have called me here. You do not need to fear me. Let's not get carried away now, pal. I am an angel. I have traveled on the winds from the east. I have known you for so very, very long. I'll use this machine to speak with you. Would you like to hear my voice? Such obvious schmuck bait. Yeah, sure, why not? Humor me. Loading audio interpretation. Welcome to, like, the late 80s, early 90s. I'm gonna get jump scared, aren't I?
Hear my voice, child. Just as Eve was seduced by the snake, so shall you be driven to the fruit by my word. I will not suffer you. I shall set you free. Your blood is not your own, but belongs to the sins of your fathers. Tonight, when you sleep, you will dream of nations.
I caught like half of that. I caught some of what he was saying, but not much. No thanks. No solicitation unless you have cookies. Alright, take your sweet time. I'm not in any hurry. Did you think I would leave you? I could tell you of my fall and of my father's betrayal. There are many things I could tell you, secret things. That's nice. My time is short, but I will leave you with a gift. I can tell you your future. However, you will have to choose the path. That seems contradictory. What am I looking at now? Bro, are you whipping out tarot cards on me? Okay. Yeah, I want to talk about stuff that, definitely would not fly in ordained ministry. So you want me to pick one, huh? This one looks nice. The Tower. That's usually associated with, apathy. It has been so easy to slip away from it all. Isn't the Tower the card of disaster? Strife? I know that because of JoJo, so don't quote me on that necessarily. Misery, apathy, and destruction. Sleep, is it your escape, child? I barely sleep, dude. Long rest before the gaping wound of the world bleeds again. Now, very poetic. Consumes and swallows you whole. That's nice. Would you sleep forever to avoid the carnivorous yearning of the earth? No. First off, I sleep super shallow. And second, if you're asking if I would, try to pretend that, like, the end of the world wasn't happening, the answer is no. The faithful were never promised any kind of magical escape, and people who cling to the idea of the rapture are largely believing into an abiblical concept. There is literally nothing saying that, oh, the magical rapture bus is gonna get you out of the way in times for doomsday. In case you haven't noticed, the faithful were usually at the epicenter of everything going wrong. So, no. I'd sooner face it head on. The future is certain. It was fate that brought us together. I don't believe in fate. Let us pray. Yes, but to what god do you pray, evil one? Ah, good. Waiting for my, 26.6 modem to load you. I can sense your fears. You really can't. Wash them away, child. Clear your mind. Your final decision awaits you. In the lion's den, a child of the god will truly shine. In the snake's nest, a human will become a meal. Snakes don't typically eat people, interest of fairness. Choose carefully, child. Speak to a loved one, see an angel, hear the voice of God. According to you, I've already done one of these. And again, communing with the dead is a bad idea, and anyone who's claiming to be God without sufficient proof... yeah, let's just say that I'm gonna have a hard time with any of these. I think, honestly, the least dangerous option is to ask to see an angel. Yeah, let's do that. Would you like to see me? Sure, why not? Jump scare time. That was one so beautiful. Even my brothers were jealous of me. I've grown to hate you so much. Yeah, you and everyone else. I'm a YouTuber, I'm used to it. I am most grateful to you. You have done for me what Father could not. Doubt it. You have set me free. Doesn't really make any sense, but whatever. I just really failed program unable to correctly close. Do not close the program. Contacted a member of the clergy immediately. How come 2 of 4? I can see you now. That's nice. Canito Pet tried the same thing, to be fair. Okay, I was just being nosy and poking around. Games like this like to hide stuff in the files, so I was just curious. That was interesting. I guess, you know, if I was more existential or perhaps more vulnerable to the powers of suggestion, that probably would have been a terrifying experience. But I don't crack easy, and I'm pretty well versed in this stuff. So to me, that was Tuesday. I don't know, that was interesting. I mean, it's kind of neat that one of these assessment exam games takes a very theological bent to it. Kind of using it as like this catalyst where you summon something based on your answers, and there does seem to be a couple different endings, so I'd be curious to see what anyone else got, but I'm going to call that my canon playthrough. I'm going to leave the link down in the description. That was interesting. I don't know. I'm a little underwhelmed, like maybe because I'm kind of just used to these things. It's like, oh, the angel's big, spoopy stone carving. He's vaguely threatening me, and going on about sins of the father and purity of the blood, and I'm just like, dude, you are old school, man. You sound like you're threatening someone from the 1500s. Come on, you gotta do better than that. It was interesting though. I was engaged. I thought it was a really interesting take on the concept, and if you guys get a different ending, let me know in the comments down below. This has been the Hipster Snek, and I'm going to see you guys next time.